Huh. Well, let's make this productive. Gordon, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. Retired Army, and then had an opportunity to work for two administrations. And once that was over, I started my own consulting work, and I work with nonprofits to help them achieve their goals.
Oh, very interesting. Okay. So, how long ago did you get out of you got white hair, so how long did you get out of the army?
I graduated in 1998.
And you spent how many years?
28.
28 years in the army.
Mhm.
Yep.
Hey, Winston,
Yep. So
Good
did 28.
afternoon. How are we doing?
we're doing great. How'd you
Awesome,
like the meeting
awesome.
this morning?
It was great. It was great.
Yeah,
It was
quite
great.
a group.
Yeah.
So Gordon, just so you know, this is a veterans group, but I also run another group an hour before, and there were 30 people that attended that meeting. What are you doing now, Gordon?
I have a consulting. I have a consulting business. It's a service disabled, veteran owned, very, very, very small business because it's just me. And then I have teammates that I bring on board, and I work with nonprofits. Been doing it since 2010. I work with primarily those that are supporting veterans and their families, but I do support other nonprofits on a case by case basis. And I work with small groups. I work with international nonprofits. So it just depends upon what the client needs and what I can do to help.
Very interesting. So,
Yeah,
did you know Dennis Schroeder from before?
I believe so. Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, we got introduced sometime back, and then he mentioned this group, and so I was on last Friday, and I thought I'd take this one. Now I'm traveling for the next 2 weeks, so I won't be able to make them, but I'll be back in November. One of my favorite groups that I work with is the Military Order of the Purple Heart. So now I've
Where are
got a
you out
very
of?
active Springfield, Virginia. We have a very active chapter here in Springfield, and Walter Reed Hospital is in our footprint. So
Oh,
we
wow.
did quite a few visits with the wounded veterans coming in, so we could at least be there if they wanted somebody to talk to, as we say, has been there, seen it, done it, got the T-shirt. So a lot of us combat wounded veterans, we would go up and especially be able to offer, if nothing else, just an ear and a handshake to these kids that were coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq. During
Gotcha.
the time before COVID hit, we had visited over 62,000 veterans and family members.
No kidding. Wow. That's a big number.
Yep, we were on call. Plus, we had regular twice a month visits that were scheduled with the visitors folks, and yep, quite a few.
Well, thank you for your service. Thank you for your commitment. It's always nice. Um, Winston, you want to tell us about yourself?
I think he's on the phone.
Oh, I get it. Yep. Okay. So,
Afternoon, gentlemen. How are we doing?
doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, not bad, I guess. I had to have one of those naps this morning already. So one of those days.
It's interesting you're saying that because I didn't go to sleep. I'm on the West Coast, so I didn't go to sleep until like 2 or 3 o'clock this morning, LA time,
Yeah.
and still set my alarm for 7:30 because I run a group at 8 a.m. LA time, and I'm tired, believe it or
Yeah.
not. And I never
Yeah. I
say
was
that.
I,
You
I
ask
was
my
working
wife.
on videos till I don't know, midnight, 12:30 last night to get a jump on today, so I wouldn't be so far behind today. And then up at 7:30 to be in my first meeting at 8:30. And I'm going, yeah. And then Mama said, can you run me to the store quick? So I was able to, I had a break between meetings and I come back and I went, yeah, I got to have a nap. I can't keep the eyeballs open.
Yeah. Dennis said he's running a little bit late, but he'll be joining in the group.
Oh, yeah. Everybody have a great week.
Yeah, I'd say it's always interesting, how you make changes in a changed world and Florida and all that stuff. Winston, are you still on the phone? No, you're off the phone.
I
Um,
apologize for that. That's one of my client called me there.
yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Business first, right?
Yes, sir. Business first.
So how is the weather affect you since you're in
Well,
Florida?
actually, thank God. It did not damage us much in our area. However, surrounding areas got hit pretty bad. A few trees fell in the back, but as far as the house and the property, it is good to go. A lot of people can say that this morning though, because the only thing that happened that night, maybe about 1 o'clock, the power went out for about 3 hours. But other than that, everything is back to normal in this area.
So one of the stories that I always tell is we lost everything in the earthquake in 1994 in Los Angeles.
Hmm. Wow.
And we had two little kids. They were 2 and 5 years old. And we lived on a tri-level home. And I mean, I visually remember this. My wife, it was open stairwells, and she handed me the children down to get out of the house. And when I first went to open the door, we had marble floors. When I first went to open the door, I slipped on the marble floors and there was glass all over. So my knees were all cut up from the
Wow.
glass. So the earthquake was 4:31 in the morning. And it was absolutely pitch black. And when the earthquake occurred, I got up to get to the door, you know, and I couldn't even see where I was. It was so dark, and I ran into an armoire that had fallen
Wow.
in our bedroom, and I didn't even see it. Couldn't even see it. So my wife and I were written up as earthquake heroes because in the LA Times, Maria Shriver, if you remember that name at all,
Yep.
Yes.
she
Yes.
wanted us to be spokespeople for earthquake preparedness. Well, to be honest with you, we were so burned out from that year alone. We lost everything. We didn't have any clothes. We didn't have dishes. We didn't have food. We had nothing, furniture, nothing. And so we basically started over in 1994. The earthquake was in January. Um,
Hmm.
and when Maria Shriver asked us to be spokespeople, we said we just couldn't do it.
Wow.
We moved 5 times that year, 5 times.
Wow.
It was nuts. So
There,
just to
there
survive,
was the big double-decker bridge that collapsed. Seen all
uh,
the,
I don't know if it was that earthquake.
was that a different earthquake that the big double-decker bridge? Well, the point is, my cousin literally drove over that bridge, and 4 minutes later, that bridge collapsed behind her.
Wow.
I'm thinking that was the San Francisco earthquake.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah, the Bay Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I grew up. So I just seem to
Hmm.
move from earthquake to earthquake.
Follows
So
you around, huh?
I'll
yeah,
I'll take my little bit of snow and a little bit of cold weather so I don't have to put up with stuff like that.
Well, living in Palm Springs now, the area is called Rancho Mirage.
Yeah.
It's a different way of life, and the heat. If
Oh,
you're a San Francisco boy, you don't like heat.
Mm.
So I don't think it's gotten below 100 here for like 30 days.
holy
105,
moly.
crazy stuff. Just surviving heat is enough for me. So,
Yeah.
we all have stories to tell, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes, me
The,
too.
the summer, the Christmas before we moved to Minnesota in Canada, where I lived in Canada, right east of Winnipeg. We went 40 days from the day after Christmas, which in Canada they call Boxing Day, to Valentine's Day, which is 40 days. The temperature did not rise above minus 30, minus 30 or colder for 40 straight days. And people
What
go,
year was that?
that would have been 99. And people go, well, how did you live with it being that cold? Well, you didn't stop living, you just dressed for it and you went to work. And that's like you in the 100 degrees. How do you stop? How do you live in that? You dress for it, or you undress for it as best as you can, and you go to work and you try and hopefully that your AC works. And like me, with it being that cold, you pray that your heater keeps going.
Dennis joined us. Hey, Dennis. Hello, Dennis.
Not on the screen yet.
Yeah, I see him. Not his face, but
Yeah,
he'll be in with us in a second.
yeah.
Well, we've all lived through one crisis or another in our lives, right?
Oh yeah.
And just to be able to survive that is a story worth telling. So
Well, there. I was looking for it. It builds character, and when you have a crisis, you find the inner strength to move forward to do what you have to do to survive.
there you. So it's interesting because we had a lot more people. What did we have? How many people registered? Let me see. Still coming on board. So we had about 70 people. I think it was 69 people registered for this veterans group.
Really?
Not very many people showed up.
No.
So wow, it's weird.
Is that who registered to come on the chat today, Bob? Or in the group?
The group, they registered to come to the group meeting.
Oh. Hello, Mr. Dennis. How are you today?
Dennis, can you hear us?
He's
Can you
looking.
hear us? Dennis? No voice. The biggest crisis we seem to have in our lives nowadays is
Technology.
technology.
Unbelievable. Yesterday I was on a different platform and I had to literally reset my camera every time I went into a breakout room.
Oh, is that right? Wow,
Yeah,
that's cool.
I just kept freezing up for some reason, and it was kind of weird. And yet I'd used it about 3 hours before that nonstop, and it was no problem.
O'Shea, welcome.
Hi, I'm gonna be on I'm gonna be off screen, but I'll be listening to everything. I've just got too much to do. I have to leave early today to get ready for the holiday, so I apologize in advance. And I'll be out the next 2 Fridays. So
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I'm hoping if Mehdi hears me, he'll send these links for these meetings as well next 2 weeks. I appreciate
Let
it.
me make sure Mehedi. Yeah, Mehedi's on. Mehedi, can you make sure, even though Mr. Math is not going to be here for the meetings the next 2 weeks, can you make sure to send him the recordings?
Sure, I will resend it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you
Appreciate it.
so much.
Yeah. Hopefully it won't be 3 because of jury duty.
And Dennis, I don't know what happened. Where'd Dennis go?
I think he said it was having problems with the audio. So I think he
Oh, did
logged
he?
out and is gonna log back in.
Yeah, he left. So Gordon, tell us what you're doing.
Well, like I said, I'm just sitting here working on a project to do some fundraising. I have a new client called Bridal Paths. They provide equine therapy to veterans out in Loudoun County, Virginia. And so we're trying to get them infused with some quick funds to get into the holiday season, the season of giving, as well as enough to get us through the winter. Because traditionally for fundraising and nonprofits, January, February, March are really slow months because everybody gets indoors, they're cold, they're not thinking about anything except the realization of their Visa and MasterCard bills from Christmas when they start coming in. So,
Amen. Yeah.
so that's why we're ramping up. I just talked to a guy, former NFL football player who has a company, and what they do is they actually sponsor insurance and sponsor things like hole-in-one contest, lucky putt contest, things like that that you would do to raise funds at events or a golf tournament or a basketball game or anything like that. And so he gave me a call and we talked. He wants to help me out, so he's going to sponsor a fundraiser for us this fall. I'm going to try to get them to do a holiday open house out at the stable and make, invite everybody from the towns to come out and see what we've got and what we're doing with the programs and helping the local veterans and their families. So I'm going to try to make it a big event and a chance that people can win a lot of money while they're there.
There you go. Hey, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Can you connect with me on LinkedIn? So you'll find, because I've used up all my invites for the week. I'm under Karen, Caryn, then AND, and then my name, Bob, and the last name is Friedenthal, Friedenthal. Hope that doesn't stress you out too much, but I've used up all my invites, so I'd love it if you connected to me.
I'll see if I can find you.
Coming up?
Oh, I'll look for it in a minute.
Okay. So the key to the, I've been involved in nonprofits to a certain extent. I used to run a VA group out of West Los Angeles, and we used to have a huge amount of attendance, especially for Christmas and New Year's, I think it was. I'd have events in the veterans, West LA veterans group. So, first of all, do you ever hear thank you for your service?
Yes, I do from time to time.
Oh, there he is.
I'm here. I'm finally back.
How are you doing today, Dennis?
Restarting the computer is kind of magic. Sometimes.
Oh, I had to do
it's
that
going
this
well.
morning. Isn't that special?
Hmm.
I wouldn't be too surprised I'm an iPhone user, been an iPhone user forever. I even go back to the days of the BlackBerry. Anybody remember the BlackBerry?
Yeah.
So, it's amazing what Apple has done. And of course, the Android's an amazing machine too. One of our friends' sons, our best friend's sons, worked for Apple, and he would fly to China to they had 5 different facilities for Apple in China. And they would only give certain pieces of the technology to the group so that no one group had too much knowledge that they would control and take over control of Apple. So that just shows you this kid is brilliant. Um, he's not a kid anymore. He's got to be in his 30s, maybe touching 40, something like that. But you think about where technology is come from and where it's going to. Any of you using artificial intelligence at this point?
Yep.
To a degree, I am
Yeah.
with my photography.
Oh, true.
Well, it's I use Lightroom as my editing software, and the way they've in have utilized that is that they have presets. Presets are what made Lightroom a really great tool from the very beginning. Well, they have now integrated AI into the presets so that you can still use your own, and but yet you can uh, it will allow you to look at suggested uh, renderings or presets for whatever image you're working with, and it's still it's still in development, but quite often they come up with a look that I like a lot better than
Mm.
what I thought I would get. So, and then I have another software called Topaz Labs, and I use that specifically because they have it's all AI generated, but they basically have a couple of different applications. One specifically that I like using because I take a lot of photos in low light situations, especially for my church. And they, when you do that, you typically get what's called grain or noise. It's, shows up as, this graininess in the image. And it does an amazing job of uh, taking that out, basically making everything look the way it really should. So,
Could you do us a favor and post some of that information into the chat room?
oh, sure.
And I know I've told this group before. I got into technology. I was a director of accounting for a publicly traded company. They hired me. Norton Simon had taken over Max Factor, and I was hired to clean up all the frauds that were going on. And that's where I got involved in technology. I fell so much in love with it. I cold turkey started my own computer company. This is back in the I'd say mid 70s. It's when a 300 megabyte hard drive was the size of a washing machine and 40 to $50,000. So I got into it very, very early, and I still love technology. It's changing how we live, how we work. Look what's going on with AI now, right? And if you're not jumping in hook, line, and sinker into AI and all the things that it brings, um, you'll be left in the dust. So the story I love to tell, Gordon's not heard this. Maybe a couple of you have heard it. Um, my nephew, my um, brother-in-law's son, calls me up. This goes back a couple of years ago. He says, you gotta watch this amazing video. Everybody remembers who Mark Spitz is,
Yep.
the swimmer. So he calls me up and says, you got to watch this amazing interview of Mark Spitz. Mark Spitz and my brother-in-law are best of friends. So I watched the video. This is going back now a couple of years ago already. And I said to him, I said, Jake, that was an amazing interview of Mark Spitz. He then says to me, it was all AI. And you couldn't tell the difference between it being Mark
Uh,
not Mark. So when Mark Spitz heard about it, he got pissed off, and he says, remove that. He got mad at my nephew. But this is the world we're in now. So the fear factor that we have and how to stay on top of it is what artificial intelligence has the threat of doing. And my wife even showed me, I think it's going back a couple weeks ago, she showed me this AI, and I can't remember if it was a mechanical device or was another human being that she was showing me. And you just couldn't tell the difference. They spoke like it, they acted like it, their hands movements, their arm gestures, all this stuff. This is the world we're in now, gang. So don't just fall victim, try and stay in front of it. I'm really hoping that the government takes over and starts to monitor AI because I think it's dangerous.
It's like any disruptive tool, in my opinion, that can be used for good or ill. We've probably all been around to see what technologies have done that have caused great disruptions within our economy and our societies that, for the most part, have been for the good. But sometimes people choose to use those tools for ill intent, and I see AI as being similar to that. It's just our most recent and prominent challenge. Like I was saying earlier, my own application with it is around photography, and it's actually extremely helpful technology in that respect. But yes, things that can create video or images that are next to impossible to distinguish between what they created and what was real. Yeah, that's very troubling.
And we're at the infancy of AI.
Right.
And not that it hasn't been around for 30 years, but it wasn't prevalent out there. Now it's prevalent.
Right.
And I think we have a lot to concern ourselves with.
I know Valerie just joined us recently here. Valerie, I think this is your first time here. I want to apologize to everybody. I put in the notes that our scheduled featured speaker, Joel Searles, had messaged me apologizing, saying he couldn't make it today. I'll be speaking with him one-on-one next week and trying to find a time that will work for him. So Valerie, I apologize. Normally we would be in the middle of a featured speaker telling their veteran story. But for the benefit of those that are here, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you, and we'll maybe very quickly, the rest of us introduce ourselves to Valerie.
Sure. So I'm a veteran, 24 years, Navy chief. My entire family, my husband's veteran, my son is still active duty. I work in the mental health field. I have 5 different facilities that I'm in charge of, and I work on connecting veterans with mental health resources.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Where are you out of?
I live in Clearwater, Florida,
Wow.
but I work all over the U.S.
So you weathered the storm or storms. I
I
see.
did. I did. It was a fun time.
I spent about 7 years well, no, 5 years in Florida, way back in the early 90s, recruiting doctors for the Army. And yeah, we weathered a few hurricanes and even had a few hurricane parties too. So
We
Well,
definitely had hurricane party.
Dennis and I have gray beards, so that gives away a little bit.
so does Santa.
When
I do
I
not.
was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, I worked for the NATO for Alexander Haig. If you remember that name, he ran the base, and it was a base called Sackland, Supreme Allied Commander of the Atlantic. And I spent 3 years there. And back in our day, it was dogs and sailors keep off the grass. Vietnam days, nobody liked anybody in the service when I was in. Did date us at all?
Right. So quickly for Valerie's benefit, I think we've connected on LinkedIn. My name is Dennis. I'm 24-year Army Medical Service Corps officer, live in Middle Tennessee, and run a nonprofit organization called the Price of Freedom Foundation. And I will pass it on. Gordon, if you could give a quick intro of yourself to Valerie.
I did that earlier, right before you got on board.
Well, I know, but Valerie wasn't on board at that time. That's why I'm asking.
Oh.
Just
Okay.
brief, really brief.
Okay, yep. Just retired Army myself. Served with a couple of administrations. Worked for a little while in the defense industry, and in 2010 started my own service-disabled, veteran-owned, and Native American-owned small business, providing consulting support to nonprofits, both national and international.
Winston, how about you? You're muted.
See, that's the biggest thing they say in technology, right? You keep forgetting to unmute yourself. Well, welcome to the team, Valerie. I'm also a retired veteran. I retired as Chief Warrant Officer, Engineer Equipment Technician, and I
You
did
went to
23
the dark
years.
side.
Huh?
You went to the dark side,
Yeah,
Chief Warrant Officer.
yeah, yeah. I loved it. Loved it. You're in between. You're right in the middle, the sweet spot,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had 3 deployments. My last deployment was OIF 3. I retired in 07 and decided to start my business full time in 2010. So I've been doing this business. I'm a financial coach, and what we do is we help families to protect their income, become properly protected, debt-free, and financially independent. And we reach out to veterans, try to offer them advice on how to better plan their future and retirement.
Winston,
Nice.
do you have any licenses?
I'm fully licensed. I'm licensed to do life insurance, annuities, fixed and variable annuities, different types of investments, different types of retirements. We help organizations to set up 401ks because what we find is the take rate, and when you look at the organization, the take rate is very low. And the reason for that is they bring someone like me on to do a presentation for about an hour and a half, and then HR provides the employees a packet to fill out and bring back. So when they take that home and they look through it, they know nothing about stocks and bonds, so they just put it down to the side. What we offer employees is to come in, share information with your employees along with yourself, because you get benefits from the federal government to offer the plan to the employees. And then we would go back in and sit with each individual employee, explain the process to them, find out what their goals are, and help them to plan for their retirement. So it benefits
Nice.
both the employee and the employer.
Excellent. Thank you, Winston. Santa,
You're welcome.
you want to do a brief intro? I saw you put your intro there in the chat, but
Yep, I did. Well, I'm the only one that's not a veteran, so everybody in the room, thank you for your service. I truly appreciate it. I'm Santa Papa John. I'm out of Minnesota. I make people smile. I create happy, joyful, positive memories so you can share with your family and your businesses. But and all the people that I've talked to in the last couple months, and I found that I've been talking to a lot of veterans, and I found out that there's no national list for all you guys that are running businesses and services that help veterans. You get into your own little niche and everything else, but there's no national list. So I'm trying to compile a national list, And, you know, I'm going to charge a whopping $10 a month. And if you can't afford that, I do custom made stories for your families. I'll donate one of my stories to, your group or your association so you can raffle it off to cover the $100 that I'm going to charge for a year. But as I was doing this, someone said, "Oh yes, there is a list," you know, but they charge $5,000 a year to be on this list. And I'm going, all the groups that I've talked to can barely afford to pay their phone bill, never mind
It's true.
$5,000. So, you know, I'm not a veteran, got a brother-in-law that's a veteran, but people kept speaking to me and said, "Santa, why don't you step up to the plate?" So I'm going to donate part of my website to compile a list of all the services that I can find in all the different states that help veterans need what they're looking for.
There
Excellent.
are 16 million veterans in this country right now.
Yeah.
And I've told this story before. My daughter worked for the VA in an area called Redlands, California.
Yeah.
She said it was the hardest job she'd ever had. She only lasted there a year or 2 years. She's got a doctorate in psychology. Why do you think she said it was the hardest job she ever had? Why do
Yeah.
you think?
Because she was overwhelmed.
Suicide.
Yeah.
There's something like 25 veterans a day that commit suicide.
Well, Bob, I'm going to say the numbers, depending on who you talk to, some people are saying the national average right now is 22, but if you talk to certain groups, they're saying it's closer to 44. And as far
Yeah,
as I'm concerned, one is too many.
Right.
exactly.
And the biggest thing that I hear all the time is they weren't able to get in and get some services. I'll tell you a quick little story. I do a lot of stuff on TikTok, and I met this one young soldier, and 25 years old. He's already done 4 tours, and he'd already signed up for the fifth. And he said, "Santa," he says, "I can't say the words that I want to say to my family." He says, "Can you make a video for me to say the words that I want to say on behalf of me for my family?" So I said, "Absolutely." So we talked and we shared some information. And I said, the conversation came out, and I said, "When was the last time you seen a psych?" He said, "Well, I'm on the list right now and I'm 5 months out, but I'm probably going to be gone in 3 months on my fifth tour." And I'm going, holy man. I mean, there's, you know, I said, "Here's my phone number." I said, "Anytime you want to talk, I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning." I says, "Call me, because I'd rather talk to you than read about your story, you know?" So, I mean, if I can step up, you know, you guys are all stepping up, doing the wonderful businesses that you do to help people. I mean, why can't we provide a list so these guys can provide or find services that they need in this country? We're supposedly the biggest and the best country in the world, and all you guys didn't hesitate to sign on that dotted line. Why do you have to go through months and months and months of, "Well, you're on the list, we'll get to you as soon as we can"? Sorry, that's not acceptable.
Right. Moshe, thank you. Thank you so much, Santa. Moshe also joined us. Moshe, could you give a quick introduction for the benefit of Valerie? I know the rest of us know you and love you and glad you're here, but
Thank you. Well, much like earlier, Dennis had to reboot his computer. Our system, our most popular sound session is rebooting the brain. We do it, our systems look similar to massage chairs to the airport, but it uses sound, light, and vibration. So it's a sonic massage, taking your mind and body through a voyage into relaxation through brainwave entrainment. So what Dennis went through earlier is turning off your computer on and on again, seeing if it helps. I'm hoping, because I have a friend, and I started saying this in another group with Bob's, and one of my friends is in the VA hospital. He's faculty working on his dissertation. They're hoping to have grant money, and as part of the grant money that someone else is getting, they're hoping to bring our system in as part of research as it relates to veterans. So I'm hoping that you and I can connect, because we've had success anecdotally with mental health. We'd like to do more with it. Give you a quick example of Covenant House. By putting the young people on before their psychological session, the sessions are much more substantive and less emotional, as an example. There are other benefits as well. So I'm hoping that we can connect and discuss it further and see if there's some collaboration opportunities.
thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah, the my daughter was telling me it's not just young people recently getting out of the service, it's the older people that retired from their regular jobs that were committing suicide. And is what happens? Idle hands and devil's workshop. They were retiring, and all the history of what they had done in the service bubbled right back up to the surface. And so it's the older people that are also committing suicide as well. As you know, it's important for us to take care of our veterans. That's why I run this group. I used to run, like I said, I used to run a West LA group, and we used to have huge attendance at our meetings. Um, and it seems like it's dwindled off. You know, we have a hard time getting 10 plus people at one of our meetings here, but is it valuable? Absolutely. There's another woman that she's usually at the meeting, Olga. Um, she's not here. So, and she spent a lot of time in talking about, the grief of being in battle, the grief of being at war. And that's happening daily now. You see what's going on in the Middle East and how much we will be pulled into another war. So there's a lot to be concerned about.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
unfortunately, all the stuff that's going on in our own country has a lot of people worried too.
Oh, you bet.
Right.
You bet. Yeah, look, my wife lost her father when she was 24 years old, and very, very young. She was best buddies with her dad, and she said the one thing that she's learned is never stop talking about him. And what a lot of us do is we suppress an inner feeling that's not such a great feeling, right? That losing a loved one in the military isn't exactly a pleasant experience, but never stop talking about him. And that's what she still does. I mean, 47 years later, she still talks about her dad, which I think is such a it's a unique experience, it seems, but it's a rewarding experience because it brings up all the negative stuff that you feel. And you start to talk about the positive actions that individual created for her and her brother. Karen's brother feels exactly the same way. This is the crazy part. There were 500 people at Karen, my wife's father's funeral. He was a beloved man. Absolutely everybody loved this guy. And it just shows you if you just simply put yourself out there and help people, that's the reward of life, isn't it?
Yep.
And I don't know if anybody want to share experiences.
Well, Bob, I can I agree with you on that situation. COVID played a lot of havoc on a lot of people's brain cells. And I've been promoting Santa now full time for a year. I'm going into year number 7, but I ran into so many people that don't even have a reason to smile. So, this is real. It's been there 14 years. I can't disguise it. I got to utilize it. But just talking to people how they're letting the past, 4 or 5 years or longer bubble up, like you say, dwell on things, and they don't know which way to turn because they're so focused on the way they were running their business or the way they were running their life before COVID. And things have changed so much in the reality of having a conversation with people. Everybody's doing this and they don't know how to have a conversation
Oh,
with
that's
people.
true. You talk
Ye-
about
Yeah,
computer
texting. Yeah, texting. They know
texting.
how to
Yeah,
text, but they don't know how to have a conversation
so
with
true.
people. So you guys having these groups and stuff where you're talking to veterans, that has to continue going. There has to be a way to open the door to let the pressure out, if I can put it as simple as that,
Right.
because we all know the past has a way of bubbling up and building pressure. And if you don't deal with it and you don't release it, it's going to lead to something that's not very pleasant. And we need to keep the conversation going,
Well,
you know.
thank you for that. And that actually is the main purpose for this group is to encourage veterans to tell their story and not to sugarcoat it. I mean, that's not the point of it. I've had a couple of folks I've had some LinkedIn conversations with that were saying, well, mine's not a pretty story. Well, it's okay. That we want to hear the story.
Yeah.
This is a safe place for you to start telling that story if you haven't been telling it elsewhere. And this is not the place that I think it should be the end of either. I think, I want to encourage everybody who's
And there's no judgment.
exactly.
And
We're here to hear and to encourage and to support. But we want the truth,
Yeah.
that old line from A Few Good Men, right? I want the truth.
I
Dennis, tell us what you're
Actually,
doing. Tell
may I just add one thing that you're referring to, Olga earlier? First of all, it's Dr. Olga Rodriguez because she's a doctor of nursing. So she's the one you're referring to earlier. It's just to clear the air for everybody who may not know who you're referring to. So that's the first thing. Second of all, to Santa, I'm the other person here who's also non-veteran. My dad served during Korea, but I myself did not serve him and would not have been accepted due to extremely flat feet. So
Well,
Thank
cool.
you.
lucky you.
I look at my brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law was in he served for, I don't know, 20 years, I think it was, but he was in the communications department, and he would go and set up different things, but he would have, the briefcase every now and then that was handcuffed to his wrist because of classified documents. And you'd go to talk to him and he says, I can't talk about it because you don't have clearance. So that opens up more doors for places like this where you guys might have different clearances that you can talk to people like him. So it needs to be brought out. Groups like this need to be shared to more people to allow veterans that have that closed mind that says, I can't talk about it because I was in clearance and I can't. Well, you need to find someone. He says he goes to a psychologist and there's stuff that he can't even talk to his psychologist about because his psychologist doesn't have clearance.
Well, that's interesting you're saying that because I had two levels above top secret. One of the levels was called a TOML, and I'm sitting in a bar in this I'm talking to this woman. She says, "Oh, did you have an atomic clearance?" Well, that term was so classified, you couldn't even tell other people about it. I had to think about it before I responded to her. And finally I said, yes. She says, it's no, oh, she then said, because she saw my hesitation, she says, by the way, that's no longer a classified term. You ever hear of any terms that you can't even speak about in the service?
I haven't. I've been I was just regular, top secret cleared and, never anything above that. So
Well, go look it
I
up.
got this list.
It's no longer a classified term, but look up ATOML, ATAMOL, I believe it is. ATOML clearance.
Uh.
And it'll talk about it.
Well, I will. Hey,
It's interesting.
before we're getting close to the top of the hour here, and one of the
Oh,
things,
wow.
Valerie, that I wanted to say is we do encourage people to make connections outside this group. I'm about to post my contact information and all sorts of things about my nonprofit here, but please put your contact information here as well.
She did.
And,
She did.
please, okay, sorry, I guess my stuff was blocking all that. All right, there we go. All right, so anyway, I do encourage folks to have conversations, one-on-one outside of this group, because and sometimes those kind of conversations you may feel a little bit more free to chat about stuff that maybe you wouldn't feel free to disclose to a larger group. So, and please do encourage others, invite others to participate. Certainly, we'd love to hear your story, Valerie. We're currently scheduling, I think, I get to where my list is here, but we're currently scheduling into November. We've got November, between now and November 8th, we have featured speakers for, but beyond that, we're looking for featured speakers. So please consider that. Reach out to me if that's going to be, we'd like to do that. But beyond that too, we want people to have a reason to just come here and hear the stories of our featured speakers too. So.
And Valerie, I'm going to take it over a little bit above Dennis there. He finds these people that have amazing stories. I mean, all you guys have amazing stories. This is true. But a lot of people don't say their stories as much as they should be, and there's a lot to be proud about. And the meetings that I've been here, there has been some phenomenal speakers. So I enjoy coming to this meeting because there are these people that tell these stories.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, again, I guess looks like we've got about a minute left to our scheduled time. And I have something I've got to rush off to. I apologize for my being late. We got stuff that will be too boring for you guys to deal with. Stuff, website stuff. And if you go to my website, it's down currently. So I'm going to go meet with my IT guy here. But anyway, I apologize for my being late. I am hopeful that we're going to have, I just sent a message to our next week's speaker to confirm that he's still able to do this. And please join us again. Please invite others to join, and invite them to consider being a featured speaker as well. So the power of networking really does make a big difference. And if it's more than just me, Bob, inviting people, it works even better. So.
Just so you know, I don't know if your computer was rebooting, but I was saying that I'll be back in about 3 weeks.
Okay, yeah,
So,
I understand.
So
Does anybody have Gordon's contact information?
no, I sent him a note asking him for it if he had put it in earlier, and if he did, would he please do a copy and paste? And he didn't. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I can't do it today because I'm getting ready to leave soon I have to drive today and go to synagogue. I will look. I have his information. I have his name because he just said goodbye. I'll look him up on LinkedIn, Bob, and reach out to you directly.
Thank you.
I sent him a friend request
on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn, yeah.
All right, then I know he's there, so I'll look him up, Bob, and I'll send you his LinkedIn profile.
Beautiful.
All
Beautiful.
Right. So I'll take care of that. It'll be after the holidays over, which is tomorrow night.
Right.
I just don't have time now. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I get it. We all get it. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, and hopefully, Bob, you and Mrs. Friedenfeld and your family are inscribed in the books of health and happy life.
You bet.
There, I just put
hopefully
I
we'll
just
see
put
who does.
Gordon's link in for his contact information on LinkedIn in
Oh,
the
wow.
post in the chat, everybody.
All right,
Thank you.
great. Thanks.
I'll still send it to you, Bob. I'll do a copy and paste just so you can look at it closely.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it in the chat, but whatever.
I saw it, but I don't.
However, however we get there, it doesn't matter.
All right,
All right.
good.
So, Dennis, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
I
Thank you,
I appreciate this group.
Amanda, Valerie, Moshe. Thank you all.
My
God bless you
pleasure.
all. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Those that are going to be around. Moshe, safe travel.
Thank you.
Success in
Thanks,
your
Dennis.
Adventures.
Did you get it?
Thank-
Bob, I
Thanks.
just sent it directly to you, Bob.
Thanks. Have
Text
a
it to
great
me.
weekend, everyone. Make sure
Have
you'll
a
be
good
safe.
weekend. Thank you.
Nice meeting you, Valerie.
Pleasure meeting y'all. Thank you.
Don't wait. Okay, don't. All right. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Did you get it, Bob? I sent a direct message to you.
As a text,
No, on
On
in the
chat.
chat.
let's see it.
It says Gordon Sumner, PhD, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
I'm looking for it.
Okay.
It's all the way in the bottom, Bob. It's the last
Oh,
one.
there it is.
2:04
Yeah.
p.m.
Okay.
Dr. Rodriguez, I know you're taking notes. Let me say goodbye. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, and I look forward to seeing you in person in the future. Thanks.
All right,
All
I
right.
gotta jump to guys. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you for attending.
You bet. Thanks.